And he was swearing at her and being so abusive. And I jumped up with tears pouring down my face and said, "You and your studio can both go to hell."
Elizabeth Taylor made one huge mistake back in 1964. She let a slick journalist into her private world, trusting him with her most personal secrets for months. They met up in hotel rooms and even on fancy ships, where she'd pour whiskey, light her cigarette, and spill every truth she'd been hiding. She truly believed he was just helping her write her memoir. But what she didn't know was shocking. He was secretly recording every single word. Decades later, those tapes resurfaced, and the image of America's sweetheart shattered overnight. The world learned that Elizabeth had been living a double life, one she even gave a name to, Cellophane Elizabeth. The nickname said it all. See-through to the world, yet hiding everything inside. The real story? It was far darker than anyone imagined. Elizabeth Taylor was born on February 27, 1932, in London, and her life felt cinematic from day one. Her parents were wealthy American art dealers living in the elite Hampstead Garden suburb, running a Bond Street art gallery filled with priceless works. They mingled with famous artists and political power players, even befriending Colonel Victor Cale, who became her unofficial godfather. It all sounded glamorous, but life wasn't just champagne and diamonds. By 1939, as war loomed over Europe, U.S. Ambassador Joseph P. Kennedy himself told Elizabeth's father to get the family out immediately. In April, Elizabeth, her mother, and her brother boarded the SS Manhattan to escape. Her father stayed behind to wrap up business and joined them later. Soon the Taylors landed in Pasadena, then Beverly Hills, slipping right into Hollywood's glittering social scene. Elizabeth was only 7, but that dramatic escape would change her entire life forever. Even before she could properly write her name, Elizabeth was in the spotlight. At just 3 years old, she began dance lessons, and she wasn't just talented, she was dazzling. She even performed for Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. Talk about starting at the top. Her mother's background as an actress and their high society connections opened doors most kids could only dream of. By the time the family settled in Los Angeles, whispers of Elizabeth's talent had already spread. A friend recommended she take a Hollywood screen test, and nobody hesitated. She had already danced before royalty. Hollywood was simply her next stage. It was like fame had been waiting for her all along. At age 10, she landed her very first movie role in There's One Born Every Minute, 1942. Universal Pictures signed her for a 7-year deal, but after just one movie, they dropped her, saying she looked too mature. Big mistake. The studio didn't realize they were turning away a girl destined to become one of the most iconic stars of all time. MGM swooped in and signed her, seizing the chance Universal had foolishly thrown away. That single decision changed Hollywood forever. MGM signed Elizabeth in 1943, and by age 12 she became a household name after starring in National Velvet, 1944. She played a daring girl who disguised herself as a boy to compete in the Grand National, and the movie was a massive hit. Elizabeth nearly won a special juvenile Oscar, finishing right behind Peggy Ann Garner. The movie turned Elizabeth Taylor into a full-blown star overnight. MGM quickly locked her into a brand new contract worth a stunning $750 a week, an unbelievable salary for a child actor in the 1940s. She was on the fast track to becoming a Hollywood legend. But by 18, her life took a sharp turn. MGM decided it was time for her to get married, because even her love life had to serve the studio's image. They arranged her marriage to Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr., the handsome hotel heir from the famous Hilton dynasty. MGM painted the relationship as a fairy tale, even paying for her lavish wedding dress. But behind the cameras, the reality was heartbreaking. Nicky's drinking spiraled out of control and he became violent. One night he kicked Elizabeth so hard she lost their unborn baby. The marriage crumbled in just 8 months. In January 1951, Elizabeth divorced him on the grounds of mental cruelty. That marriage destroyed what little innocence she had left and showed just how tightly the studios controlled their stars' lives for money and headlines. Leaving Hilton didn't give her freedom, it made things worse. MGM was furious. A divorced young star didn't fit their clean-cut image. To punish her, they forced her into a lightweight romantic comedy called Love is Better Than Ever, 1952, a film far beneath her talent. It flopped, and the message from the studio was loud and clear: defy us and you'll pay the price. This was how Hollywood worked back then. Female stars were treated like property. Image was everything, and happiness meant nothing. But fate wasn't done with Elizabeth yet. That same year, she starred in Ivanhoe, and though she hated her small role, the film exploded at the box office. In just 39 days, it earned $1.3 million and eventually pulled in $11 million worldwide. It became MGM's biggest moneymaker of the year, and even scored 3 Oscar nominations and 2 Golden Globe nods. Elizabeth's star power couldn't be denied anymore. Even when she wasn't happy with her roles, audiences adored her. Her personal life, though, kept changing just as fast. In 1952, she married British actor Michael Wilding, a quiet, gentle man who seemed like a safe haven after the chaos. She was expecting her first child, but even then, money was tight. To stay secure, she signed another 7-year contract with MGM. The studio paid her an incredible $4,700 a week, over $55,000 a week in today's money. The deal came with perks, a loan for a new house and guaranteed work for Wilding, but it also tightened MGM's grip on her even more. Elizabeth longed for more serious, challenging roles, but MGM had other plans. They gave her what they wanted her to play, not what she deserved. She was trapped again, rich, famous, adored, yet powerless. Her career stability came at the cost of her freedom, tying her to a system that saw stars as products, not people. By the late 1950s, Elizabeth Taylor's world was spinning like a hurricane, and no one could see the storm coming. On May 12, 1956, she hosted a glittering dinner party at her Benedict Canyon home. The night started beautifully, full of laughter and champagne, until tragedy struck. Her close friend, actor Montgomery Clift, left the party early. Just minutes later, his car slammed into a telephone pole near her driveway. The crash was horrific. His face was shattered, his nose broken, his jaw fractured, and several teeth knocked out. The news reached Elizabeth within moments, and she didn't hesitate for even a second. Barefoot, she sprinted down the dark road toward the wreck before the ambulance could arrive. What she found was horrifying. Monty was choking on his own teeth, blood flooding from his mouth. Without thinking, Elizabeth reached into his throat and pulled out the broken teeth and bone shards, saving his life right there in the street. Elizabeth Taylor saved Montgomery Clift's life that night, but the crash changed everything. His once beautiful face was shattered, leaving him disfigured forever. Still, her fearless act became one of Hollywood's most unforgettable stories of loyalty and friendship. But Elizabeth's devotion didn't stop at that roadside rescue. It ran much deeper. After the accident, Monty's career spiraled. His looks were gone, and studios labeled him uninsurable. Addiction took hold, painkillers, alcohol, and heartbreak dragging him down further. When MGM refused to cast him in, suddenly last summer, 1959, Elizabeth wasn't having it. She marched in and gave them an ultimatum. Either Monty gets the role or I walk. Panic broke out. Clift was a financial risk, and the studio didn't want to lose their biggest star. So Elizabeth did something no one in Hollywood had ever dared. She offered up her own $500,000 salary as insurance to cover Monty's role. $500,000 back then was a fortune. Because of her, he got the part. The movie went on to earn multiple Oscar nominations, proving she wasn't just a screen goddess, she was a fighter who would risk everything for a friend. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't save him forever. On July 23, 1966, Montgomery Clift died of a heart attack at just 45 years old. Elizabeth was crushed. They had been planning to reunite on another film, Reflections in a Golden Eye, but that dream vanished the day he died. She later called him her soulmate, the one person who truly understood her. Losing him, along with the death of her husband, Mike Todd, broke something inside her that never fully healed. Her grief ran deep, haunting her through addiction and heartbreak for decades. Her time with Mike Todd had been her happiest chapter, the one time she truly believed in forever. They'd married on February 2nd, 1957, in sunny Acapulco, wrapped in passion and laughter. Later that same year, in August, they welcomed their daughter, Liza. Todd was larger than life, a man who lived to make Elizabeth smile. He spoiled her with grand gestures and wild romance. He once gifted her a diamond so massive she wore it as a necklace pendant, and for her birthday, he even rented out Madison Square Garden just to celebrate her. But joy turned to horror on March 22, 1958. Todd's private plane, the Lucky Liz, crashed in New Mexico, killing everyone on board. Elizabeth was only 26. When she got the call, she collapsed in disbelief, unable to stop crying. The man who made her feel safe and adored was gone in an instant. Heartbroken and desperate, she turned to Eddie Fisher, Mike Todd's best friend, for comfort. But what started as grief soon turned into scandal. Fisher was married to Debbie Reynolds, America's sweetheart at the time. When word got out, the press went wild. Headlines screamed that Elizabeth Taylor was a homewrecker and husband stealer. She was painted as Hollywood's bad girl overnight. Still, Eddie Fisher left Debbie Reynolds for her, and on May 12, 1959, just 3 hours after his divorce was finalized, he married Elizabeth. But from the start, it was doomed. Elizabeth later confessed she never truly loved him. He was just a crutch, she admitted, a temporary escape from unbearable grief. Their home was filled with silence and sadness. The loneliness drove her to the edge. One night, overwhelmed by regret, she swallowed a handful of sleeping pills right in front of him. She survived, but afterward she said she wished she'd never let things get that far. The marriage fell apart piece by piece, and Fisher's jealousy twisted into something dark. Elizabeth Taylor finally had enough. She grabbed her kids and ran, leaving Eddie Fisher behind for good. In 1961, she made her ultimate comeback, winning her very first Oscar for Butterfield 8. But here's the twist. She absolutely hated that movie. She only took the role to finish off her contract with MGM, the studio that had owned her life for years. When she won, it didn't even feel like victory. It felt empty. She later said she believed the Academy gave her that Oscar out of pure sympathy, not talent. And maybe she was right, because that same year Elizabeth had nearly died. She'd suffered from a vicious case of pneumonia, underwent an emergency tracheotomy, and stopped breathing 4 times. Newspapers actually printed her obituary by mistake. When she miraculously pulled through and later won the Oscar, the public saw it less as an acting triumph and more like a reward for surviving death itself. Between 1958 and 1964, Elizabeth Taylor lived through more pain, scandal, and chaos than most people endure in a lifetime. The press tore her apart. Protesters followed her everywhere, holding signs that screamed, "Liz, go home." She was branded America's most hated woman. Hate mail and death threats poured in like rain. But through it all, she stood tall. Years later, she said, "I am a survivor, a living example of what people can go through and survive." And she meant every word. Then came Cleopatra, the film that turned Hollywood upside down. When it hit theaters in 1963, it wasn't just a movie, It was a full-blown cultural explosion. The budget skyrocketed to $44 million. That's over $426 million today. No one had ever thrown that kind of money at a single film. It cost 3 times more than Ben-Hur and nearly bankrupted 20th Century Fox. The chaos behind the scenes was legendary. The first director got fired. Entire sets and costumes were trashed and rebuilt from scratch. Elizabeth herself nearly died again from pneumonia while shooting in London. Production had to shut down and move to Rome just to keep her alive. But even all that drama wasn't the biggest story. The real firestorm started on set between Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. They fell for each other, hard. Their chemistry burned through every scene so much that even the studio bosses couldn't ignore it. 20th Century Fox's head, Darrell F. Zanuck, wrote to Burton calling them a combination audiences can't look away from. And he was right. When Cleopatra finally premiered, fans didn't just show up for the movie. They came to witness the wild, unstoppable passion that had taken over Hollywood. That love affair didn't just dominate the tabloids. It saved the movie from financial ruin. But it also sent shockwaves through the world. In early 1962, their romance exploded into the public eye. Both were married, Elizabeth to Eddie Fisher, and Burton to Sybil Williams. Then came the photo. A single image of them wrapped in each other's arms on a yacht in Ischia hit the front pages, and everything changed. The press went absolutely wild. Paparazzi stalked them day and night, and suddenly, movie stars could no longer hide behind closed doors. The scandal was massive. It was so bad, 20th Century Fox actually halted production. Every day the cameras stopped. It cost them a staggering $100,000. Crew members fainted from exhaustion trying to keep up with the chaos. The production manager got so sick from stress that he had to leave, and tragically died soon after. Burton's own diary later revealed the truth of their obsession. He wrote about their nights together, raw, wild, and unstoppable, calling Elizabeth an eternal one-night stand. Even when filming stopped, they kept kissing like the rest of the world had disappeared. The whole world couldn't look away, and plenty of people were furious. In 1962, even the Vatican's newspaper publicly condemned Elizabeth Taylor, calling her guilty of erotic vagrancy for falling in love with Richard Burton while still married. They said their affair was an insult to the nobility of the hearth. The words were harsh, and the outrage went global. Headlines blared across every country, painting their romance as sinful, scandalous, and dangerous. Some U.S. politicians even called for them to be banned from re-entering America, claiming they represented moral decay. But here's the thing. What the world called sin, Elizabeth and Richard called freedom. Their love was wild, raw, and unapologetic, a symbol of passion that broke every rule. They didn't hide. They didn't beg for forgiveness. And as their romance grew, so did the frenzy. Security had to be tightened on the Cleopatra set, and Italy's version of the FBI stepped in after Taylor started receiving threats. Still, nothing could stop them. Elizabeth officially divorced Eddie Fisher on March 15, 1964, and just 10 days later, she married Richard Burton in Montreal. To some, it was the ultimate love story. To others, pure scandal. Either way, the world couldn't stop talking about them. They were the most infamous couple alive, rich, reckless, and completely obsessed with each other. But Elizabeth wasn't only rewriting the rules of love, she was shattering the rules of Hollywood power. For Cleopatra, she made history as the first actor ever, man or woman, to earn $1 million for a single film. And she didn't stop there. She locked down $50,000 a week in overtime pay. The production was supposed to last 16 weeks, but the chaos stretched it out for 2 long years. By the time the dust settled, she had made almost $7 million. That's over $60 million today. And as if that wasn't legendary enough, she also negotiated a share of the film's profits, something no star had ever dared to demand before. Elizabeth's business game was as fierce as her beauty. She negotiated parts of her deal straight from her bathtub, champagne in hand, with Eddie Fisher acting as her go-between to the studio. When Fox finally agreed to her terms, she raised her glass and toasted to victory. That moment didn't just change her life, it changed Hollywood forever. She smashed through the glass ceiling for women in the industry, proving that no one, especially not a studio boss, could control her worth. Meanwhile, Richard Burton was completely consumed by her. His diary entries revealed a man both enchanted and undone. He wrote about her beauty in words that felt almost dangerous, raw, poetic, and obsessive. He called her fantastically beautiful, describing her as having a special and dangerous loveliness. In one haunting line, he said she was beautiful beyond the dreams of pornography. He wrote that being without her felt like an ache in the stomach. She made him feel alive, vulnerable, and completely powerless. The world saw their fiery romance on the surface, but his secret words showed just how deep and consuming his love truly was. Then, in 1966, Elizabeth Taylor shocked the world once again. At only 33, she reinvented herself completely for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Gone was the glamorous beauty queen. This time she gained 30 pounds, aged herself up, and dove into the role of Martha, a bitter, broken wife. Fans were stunned. This was Elizabeth Taylor like no one had ever seen her before. But that risk paid off in a massive way. The film became a sensation, raw, gritty, and brutally real. It racked up 13 Oscar nominations and won 5, including Elizabeth's second Best Actress Oscar. Every single one of the 4 main actors was nominated, a record that had never been achieved before. Her performance didn't just prove her talent, it redefined what Hollywood thought a woman could do on screen. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Proved that Elizabeth Taylor would risk everything for her art, but off-screen her real life was even more explosive. Her marriage to Richard Burton was pure fire, beautiful, dangerous, and chaotic. Their fights were so wild that even their closest friends didn't know whether to step in or get out of the way. Burton's diary described one shocking night in 1969 when Elizabeth, drunk and furious, slammed her ring-covered fingers straight into his head. He later wrote, "If any man had done that, I'd have killed him." Their love was legendary, but their battles were brutal. Elizabeth hurled accusations at him, drunkenness, lies, pride, greed, and he gave back just as hard. Their passion burned hot, but their tempers burned hotter. Alcohol only made it worse. Burton wrote that Elizabeth would go to bed completely stoned, talking in a baby voice, like a demented child. Their days started with liquor at breakfast and ended with both of them too drunk to stand by nightfall. Elizabeth later admitted she once mixed Jack Daniels with Demerol while in the hospital, laughing that it left her higher than a kite. But behind the jokes was a real truth. Her addiction was swallowing her whole. Conversations became impossible. They lived in chaos, love twisted with pain and poison. By June 1974, it all collapsed. The first divorce hit like a bomb. Burton was shattered. He wrote, "This woman is my life." The split was front-page news all over the world, but neither could stay away for long. Just 16 months later, they shocked everyone by remarrying in Botswana. Elizabeth wore green feathers. Burton showed up in a red shirt and socks. The ceremony lasted only 20 minutes, simple but surreal. They toasted with champagne beside the river, the African sunset glowing behind them. For a moment, it looked like they'd finally found peace. But peace never lasted long with those two. Within 9 months, the second marriage cracked apart again. Same storm, same heartbreak. By February 1976, they had separated, and by July, it was over for good. Booze, jealousy, and violent tempers tore them down all over again. No amount of love or fame could hold them together. Their story became Hollywood legend, a love too big, too wild, too tragic to survive. After Burton, Elizabeth tried again, marrying politician John Warner later that same year, 1976. At first, it seemed like a new beginning. She even helped with his Senate campaign, drawing massive crowds who came just to see her. But life in Washington, D.C. turned out to be a nightmare of boredom. Surrounded by conservative elites, Elizabeth felt trapped and forgotten while Warner focused on politics. She rebelled quietly, showing up to a Republican ladies' luncheon dressed head to toe in purple after being told not to. Still, no rebellion could fix her loneliness. She later called those years boring and empty. By December 1981, they had separated, and by November 1982, the divorce was final. But that marriage left deep scars. Depression hit her hard. Her health started to collapse, and cruel tabloids mocked her weight gain. The pressure and pain pushed her back into old habits. Pills and whiskey became her escape. Between 1983 and 1988, Elizabeth's life was a blur of prescriptions. Records showed that 3 doctors gave her nearly 1,000 prescriptions for 28 different drugs. The doses were so extreme that one expert who reviewed them said he was stunned she was still alive. She mixed whiskey with Demerol, took sleeping pills and Valium every night, and would sometimes wake up so dazed she'd walk straight into walls. Elizabeth later admitted, "Without help, I would have died." They begged her to get help, and this time, Elizabeth finally listened. After one last night of hard partying, she checked herself into the Betty Ford Center in December 1983. She stayed there for 7 long weeks that would change her life forever. The moment she stood up in group therapy and said, "I'm Elizabeth, I'm an addict and an alcoholic," the room went silent. The world's most glamorous woman was finally admitting her truth. Inside the clinic, there were no red carpets, no diamond necklaces, just shared rooms, chores, and hard honesty. But that humility saved her. She scrubbed floors, did laundry, and faced herself for the first time in decades. That experience didn't just save Elizabeth, it inspired countless others to seek help too. And through all of it, she revealed something most people never would have guessed. Elizabeth Taylor drank because she was shy. She confessed, "I'm terribly shy. I drink for courage." But the very thing that gave her confidence was also destroying her from the inside. She could drink heavily without ever seeming drunk, which only pulled her deeper into addiction. The world saw confidence and charm, but underneath, she was just trying to quiet the fear. Then, decades later, another shocking truth surfaced. 40 hours of Elizabeth's most private confessions had been sitting forgotten in an attic. Between 1964 and 1965, journalist Richard Merriman had recorded intimate interviews with her while ghostwriting her memoir. Those sessions, held in hotel suites at the Beverly Hills Hotel, on ocean liners crossing the Atlantic, and in smoky, candlelit rooms, captured Elizabeth as no one had ever heard her before. Her real voice, her real pain, her real secrets. The tapes were never meant for anyone else to hear. After Merriman's death in 2015, his widow discovered the recordings hidden among his belongings. They were finally returned to the Taylor estate in 2019, and by 2024, they became the centerpiece of HBO's groundbreaking documentary, Elizabeth Taylor, The Lost Tapes. For the first time, the world could hear Elizabeth unfiltered, emotional, and completely real. She had no idea anyone beyond Merriman would ever hear those words. Over 40 hours of conversation, she opened her heart in ways she never dared in public. Again and again, you can hear her pause and whisper, "That's off the record," or "You can't use that in the book." She thought she had control, that what she said would stay private forever. That false sense of safety is what made her speak so freely. The recordings revealed everything: the pain of her failed marriages, the heartbreak over Eddie Fisher, the hidden scars from her first marriage, and even personal stories about James Dean that had never been told before. She talked about being abused, about loneliness, about how fame both made her and destroyed her. These were things she had purposely left out of her official memoir, truths too raw for the spotlight. Documentary director Nanette Burstein later explained that Elizabeth would never have spoken so openly if she'd known the world would one day listen. And yet, that honesty is what makes the tapes so haunting. You can hear the clinking of glasses, the soft laughter fading into tears, the sound of ice melting in whiskey as she spills her soul. Champagne, cocktails, and cigarettes were her constant companions during those late-night talks, sometimes in fancy hotel suites, sometimes on boats drifting under the stars. Every drink seemed to loosen another secret. You can almost picture the scene: a table covered with empty glasses, ashtrays overflowing, the air thick with smoke, as she confesses her truth to a man she thought was just her ghostwriter. Those sessions weren't just interviews. They were therapy, confession, and self-destruction all at once. Each sip peeled back another layer, exposing the fragile woman hiding behind the Hollywood legend. Beneath the fame and diamonds, Elizabeth was fighting demons no one could see. She admitted she often felt like a fraud, even as the world worshipped her beauty. She told Merriman she felt like a frightened little girl who had been forced too early into a grown-up world. She doubted her looks, hated being idolized for her face, and felt trapped by the image Hollywood had built around her. Elizabeth Taylor's first marriage left deep, painful scars, ending with abuse and a heartbreaking miscarriage that haunted her for years. Behind all the diamonds and spotlight, she carried the weight of a childhood stolen by fame and studio control. But what stands out most is how Elizabeth herself described her life. She said she lived as two people. There was Elizabeth Taylor, the real woman, flesh, blood, laughter, tears. And then there was the other one, the cellophane Elizabeth, the Hollywood creation seen by millions but truly known by no one. That split kept her going. The real Elizabeth longed for love, peace, and normalcy, while cellophane Elizabeth smiled for cameras, posed for magazines, and faced endless gossip. Even her assistant, Tim Mendelsohn, once said you could clearly see how she kept those two sides apart. Then came 1985, a year that changed her destiny forever. The world was terrified. AIDS was spreading fast, and fear was everywhere. When her close friend Rock Hudson died from the disease, Elizabeth was shaken to her core. While most celebrities stayed silent or ran from the stigma, she did the opposite. She stepped forward. She co-founded AmFAR, the Foundation for AIDS Research, and used her fame to shine a blinding light on a disease most people refused to even talk about. But Elizabeth didn't just speak up. She worked. She fought for people who had been abandoned by the world. Over the years, she helped raise nearly $325 million for AIDS research and supported more than 2,000 scientists across the globe. Then, in 1991, she launched the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, providing direct care to those living with HIV and AIDS. Her compassion saved lives and shattered stigma. While others avoided the topic out of fear, Elizabeth dove straight into the fire. Dr. Mervyn Silverman of AmFAR said it best. She was like the lone star when others fled. She visited patients in hospitals, led massive fundraisers, and even stood before Congress, demanding action. She challenged the 1987 U.S. visa ban that discriminated against people with HIV, risking her own image, but she didn't care. Her courage forced the world to look, to care, and to change. Elizabeth Taylor turned compassion into power and made activism glamorous when no one else dared. And she didn't stop there. She became a business powerhouse. In 1987, Elizabeth launched her first perfume, Passion, and just a few years later, in 1991, she dropped White Diamonds, a scent that would become a global phenomenon. It wasn't just perfume, it was part of her identity. She was involved in everything from designing the scent to directing the ads. By 2018, White Diamonds had earned over $1.5 billion, making it one of the most successful celebrity fragrances ever. Elizabeth Taylor didn't just create a perfume, she created a movement. She paved the way for every modern celebrity brand we see today. And even better, she used her business to give back. 20% of White Diamond's sales still go straight to her AIDS Foundation. Her success proved that business could be bold, beautiful, and compassionate all at once. Her last love story was different, less about glitz and more about heart. She met Larry Fortensky at the Betty Ford Clinic, where both were fighting their personal demons. He was a construction worker, 20 years younger than her, and their connection was simple, genuine, and healing. In 1991, they got married at Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. Surrounded by stars and cameras, it was front-page news around the world. But fame has its cost. The pressure, the headlines, the constant invasion, it all took a toll. By 1996, they divorced, but the respect never faded. Larry received $1 million in the settlement and later $800,000 in her will. Their love may not have lasted, but it was real, pure and human, without all the Hollywood glitter. Even as the years passed, Elizabeth Taylor stayed true to herself. She lived by her own rules, fierce, loyal, and unafraid to follow her heart no matter what the world thought. On March 23, 2011, Elizabeth Taylor passed away at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles, surrounded by her 4 children. She was 79 years old. Her death marked the end of a golden era, a final curtain for one of the brightest stars who ever lived. But her legacy? It still burns just as bright. She wasn't just a movie icon. She was a fighter, a trailblazer, a woman who turned pain into purpose. With an estate valued between $600 million and $1 billion, she left behind more than fame. She left behind change, compassion, and courage. Even now, her foundation continues to fight HIV and AIDS, carrying her light forward for future generations. Elizabeth Taylor didn't just live, she roared through life. And even in death, her power, her passion, and her heart continue to inspire millions around the world. If you loved diving into the wild, emotional life of Elizabeth Taylor, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below about your favorite moment from her story. And don't forget, there's more Hollywood drama and untold truth coming your way. See you in the next video.